In this edition of 30 Minutes with Government, Basic Legal Course for Civil Servants launched, the Leonard School is handed back over to government, and Sexual and Reproductive Health Stakeholders Consultation held at the University of St. Martin. All these stories and more ahead when 30 Minutes with Government continues. Stay tuned. Welcome to 30 Minutes with Government. I'm your host, Giselle York. The Department of Legal Affairs and Legislation, under the Ministry of General Affairs, officially opened their legal basic course on Monday, August 14th with a ceremony. Speaking at the ceremony was Secretary General of General Affairs Hansley Plantain, Section Head of the Department of Legal Affairs and Legislation, Bas van den Bosch, Department Head Jennifer Furr, and Prime Minister William Marlin. Speaking to the gathered audience, the Prime Minister expounded on the theme of legal basics based on the governing program and how this course will strengthen the civil servants' corps, who serve as the guarantors of continuity in government.
Our governing program 2016-2010 or 2020 is entitled Stability for Prosperity. It is anchored on 5 strategic objectives, all of which can only be achieved by upgrading our government apparatus. We are not even 1 year into this governing period, and yet we can see that various initiatives that are geared towards a profound transformation of our society are already taking place. One of those initiatives is why we are here this afternoon. Nobody knows the challenges that this coalition government faces better than the civil servants, who do their utmost best, day in, day out, to give professional support to government. Civil servants are the guarantors of continuity in government, and without such continuity, we cannot really speak of stability. It is therefore logical that in pursuing our vision of a strong, proud, healthy, and resilient nation, we should equip our civil servants, particularly those who are tasked with giving the required advice on government policy, with the necessary tools to enable them continue discharging their duties as efficiently and as professionally as possible. This is the reason this project was initiated. The basic law course, which started today, will address the fundamentals of our governmental operations and provide participants with the necessary legal education and training that will ensure that they can continue to improve their performance in every aspect of their professional duties and offer the highest level of quality service to our citizens, partners, and international counterparts. I am therefore very happy to know that over 100 persons have already registered for this course. This is a clear indication of their commitment to professional and personal development that will surely result in an improved service-based sector. I know that many more would have liked to register for this basic legal course, but unfortunately, we cannot shut down government to allow every civil servant who would want to participate in this training. The large number of participants is the reason why the course has been organized in 3 classes per module instead of 1. The program will last a total of 5 weeks of intensive training, which will end in November, with graduation set for December, God spare life. But then, as you all know, the law school, the brainchild of Minister of Finance, Mr. Richard Gibson, would have gotten off the ground. Minister Gibson founded and led one of the most successful law firms on the island, and also served in the past as Minister of Constitutional Affairs in the now defunct Netherlands Antilles. He is very passionate about helping St. Martiners enter into the legal field, and hopefully the credits obtained in this basic legal course can be acceptable in the new law school for those of you who may be interested in taking this basic legal course to a higher level. As a young and growing nation that will be just 7 years old in a couple of months, it is imperative for our future development to have our own cadre of lawyers and legal professionals and a civil service corps that has a functional knowledge of how our system of government works. In fact, one of the core responsibilities of the Ministry of General Affairs, which I head, is the preparation, publication, and management of the laws and regulations of the country, as well as giving legal advice. It is a well-known fact that a vast majority of our laws are initiated and drafted by the executive branch of government for passage by Parliament. This requires that those who prepare these laws and those who give advice on them are well-versed in the legal processes and procedures and have the necessary skills to do their jobs in a way that would reflect the strength of our young country.
In her closing, Department Head Jennifer Furr spoke on the many benefits to be gained from this and future legal courses.
Strengthening the judicial capacity within our organization, not exclusively being the domain of the Department of Legal Affairs and Legislation, is one of the goals in our governing program and the Ministry of General Affairs, and also in the year plan of the Department of Legal Affairs and Legislation. The fact that you are here shows that you are willing to invest in your staff and grant them the opportunity to educate themselves in constitutional and judicial matters. This experience will improve their advisory skills, which will not only improve the service to the citizens of St. Martin, but will also increase the level of professionalism and also the accountability between workers. The Legal Basic course is a start, because if you want a high-performing organization, we need to keep investing in our staff. Next year, we aim to initiate an in-depth training on how to draft legislation in the correct manner, with a focus on national ordinances. During this course, participants will learn how to improve laws that they have drafted through assessments and assignments.
A sexual and reproductive health stakeholders consultation was recently hosted by the Ministry of Public Health, Social Development and Labor at the University of St. Martin. The purpose of the consultation was to get input from key community stakeholders on the newly drafted sexual and reproductive health policy. Minister of Public Health, Social Development and Labor, the Honorable Emil Lee, in his opening remarks, spoke on the importance of this policy and the discussions that are to follow.
The ability to decide when, where, how to reproduce is something that is a fundamental right. I am the proud father of 3, and I will tell you there's no greater joy than my children. I'll tell you there's also no greater angst or worry or stress than from my children as well. I often have told friends in the past that having children is a life-changing, and for me as a sort of a philosophical person, life-changing event. I've joked with my friends that if you didn't have children, actually, my goal would be to die penniless, because it will mean that I will have maximized my life. I will have every dollar I've earned, I've spent, and the day I die, put me in a plywood box because I spent everything, right? But then once you have children, it becomes a completely different story. It's you want to leave behind an empire, a legacy. You want to leave something for your children that for them to continue to grow on or to build. And so, it really is a life-changing moment. And in my function as minister, and in my function as a business person, I've seen stories. I've seen where people are coming to my office in tears, looking for an increase in their financial aid because, they have a child and they're pregnant with another and they can't make ends meet. but they didn't have the opportunity to finish school because they had to figure out how to take care of children. So the issue of teen pregnancy is an issue. I've seen it also personally where, as a matter of fact, now I know a family, the mother's older. I think she's in her 40s, pregnant again. She has quite some children already. And one of the children who was going to go off to university has now had to make, again, a life-changing decision to say, look, I need to stay home to help the family, support the family financially, as well as with my time and energy. So, the discussion about when and how often to have children is something that touches everybody's life.
The new policy was presented by Joy Ornell, Acting Secretary General of the Ministry, while guest speakers spoke on a range of topics that included contraceptives, medical termination of pregnancy, and adolescent sexual reproductive health.
In any society, there may be things that we do because it's our practice, but when we look at the wider range of, international range of the way it should be, we're not always in line with that. And I'm going to say this, it isn't necessarily from a negative, it's just, and I'm going to take it from the youth perspective, youth are given contraceptives or allowed to have prescribed contraceptives at a certain age, but when we started looking at age differentiation as to when young people actually get sexually active, they have their first sexual debut, and the time that they can receive contraceptives, sometimes there's this discrepancy in what is allowed. And we just want to make sure everything is aligned the way it's supposed to be. Family planning is also, of course, one of the tools that need to be looked at in terms of addressing poverty. And people should have the right to decide how big their family should be and how they want to actually schedule or time their family. That's one. Two that we're going to look at, the second one is the adolescent and youth sexual reproductive health. And we had, major discussions about this. It is, I think, a concern for everyone. The CAP study definitely highlighted some of that concern. A structural manner in how we want to address sexual reproductive health of the young people was one of the key elements that we want to see take place. And we want to support the implementation of age-appropriate sexuality education. And I want to stress here that we think that sexual reproductive health education for youth based on age is absolutely necessary within our school system.
Stay tuned. 30 Minutes with Government continues after these public service announcements. "2017 Atlantic Hurricane Season Storm Names: Arlene, Brett, Cindy, Dawn, Emily, Franklin, Gert, Harvey, Irma, Jose, Katia, Lee, Maria, Nate, Ophelia, Felipe, Rena, Sean, Tammy, Vince, Whitney. The season officially begins on June 1st and will end on November 30th. Be prepared. Remember, it only takes one to make it a bad hurricane season." Welcome back to 30 Minutes with Government. On Monday, August 14th, the newly renovated Leonard Corner School was officially handed back over to the government of St. Martin and, by extension, the school management. The school was closed in November 2016 due to air quality concerns, and students were dispersed to various other public schools and community centers. Good Corporate Citizen (NVGEBE) financed the installation of air conditioners for each classroom and the complete electrical upgrade required for the air conditioners to be placed to the tune of over 300,000 guilders. Head of New Projects Kurt Ruan thanked NVGEBE along with several others for their support and contribution to the emergency project. He also spoke on the plan for the upgrading of all public schools.
We are still not out in the woods here at the Leonard Corner School because the program that which was undertaking the technical upgrades and repairs entails only the electrical upgrade in the air conditioning. The idea was to install the air conditioning because of problems with the air circulation in the area. But unfortunately, in order to install the air conditioning system, the electrical works had to be upgraded. So that's why the total cost of that entire project was to the tune of some 383,000 guilders. And we're very grateful that NVGB, through its budget, assisted government by means of a donation with the financing of this project. The data installation and also the plumbing works are still to be completed. It's an honor to be part of this project. It wasn't an easy task. I mean, when the project was tendered based on a procedure of an open tender, the minister first asked for it to be done in 2 weeks. We said, Minister, we would love to get it done in 2 weeks, but it's going to be a kind of impossible. Then the minister, it was actually supposed to be done in 4 weeks. Then we brought it back to 4. It was supposed to be done in 6 weeks. We brought it back to 4 weeks, but the minister wanted it to be done in 2 weeks. So that was kind of impossible because of the nature of the works that have to be undertaken, and also electrical works is something that have to be executed correctly.
CEO of NVGEBE, Mr. Kenrick Chittick, pledged to continue to assist schools on the island as long as funds were available.
I cannot promise it's going to happen this year and next year, whenever, but as long as this management is there, we got to do our utmost best to try to help our schools. Why we say this? We in GB look at our employees. We need more employees in St. Martin to have a higher education than what we have right now. And it starts with primary school. In order to get better employees, we have to also invest in education. So with that said, I won't make it too long. Mr. Jacobs, for being a bit pushy and demanding, it all paid off. So being pushing, demanding at times, is not a bad thing. It's good when you want to have an objective achieved. Continue your hard work. And to the school management, Ms. Samuels, I know your heart is at rest because I came down here once or twice. We met in your office, and I saw the tears in your eyes the first day we met. And today, I'm seeing a smile in your face. So to you and your staff, congratulations. And we do hope that from henceforth, your students will be happy, and we can have a better success rate at the school.
Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, Sylvia Jacobs, in her address, assured that the Leonard Connor School was not the only school that had her attention. She also thanked NVGEBE for their good corporate citizenship and encouraged others to step up to contribute.
If we go back to when I started teaching in 1992, we've come a long way. We've had new schools built since then. But even those new schools, as you can see, this being one of them, still needs repairs, and especially the repairs you can see, the electrical, the cabling, the plumbing. But you, the children, you, the teachers, you, the management and staff, know what it feels like to not to be able to use toilets properly or get fans to work, etc. So you are the ones that will feel the difference today, and I'm sure all of the other public schools would love to feel that way as well. So it is my goal, together with government, together with all corporate citizens who feel that they would like to make a contribution, for us to find ways to fund the other electrical and cabling, plumbing, etc. that needs to be done. Unfortunately, it's not on the capital budget this year. 2018 budget will go to Parliament soon, and I will see what the decision is, because you know we rely on CFT in all other instances. But seeing that we were able to get help from the community, I will start looking from now for other areas to be able to fund this, because it is ridiculous what some of us have to go through. And you don't need to put it on Facebook for me to know. I know. I've been there. I've worked in it for over 20 years myself. And it is my goal to improve it, not just for you, but for all the generations to come. This cannot be what we accept as the norm. Even as what I walked through other schools, I didn't come to this one 2 weeks ago, I was still dismayed at what I saw. I'm disappointed. So everyone doesn't have to feel like, oh, we did a little thing, we're satisfied. No, we are not. We know we have a lot to do. We ask you to continue to work with us. We know that we've worked in worse conditions, but despite it all, the priorities are those little people in the yellow right there. and making sure that they get to the next level. And you guys are doing a tremendous job regardless of the circumstances you've had to face this past year and in the years before.
Stay tuned. 30 Minutes with Government continues after these public service announcements. Outgoing Minister of Kingdom Relations and Interior, Mr. Plaster, and members of his delegation paid a farewell visit to the Council of Ministers of St. Martin on August 15th. Prime Minister William Marlin described the brief meeting at the Council of Ministers press briefing.
Of course, as an outgoing minister, we have not initiated any new discussions about some issues that had been raised. The Minister of Public Health, Minister Emily, continued his passionate plea for support from the Dutch government in providing the financing for the hospital. Locally, it can be secured, but because of the nature of a local financing scheme, the interest rate would be in the range of 6%, while if it goes through the Dutch government, we can get it as low as 2%. A multi-annual loan, a long-term loan of that magnitude, you're looking at the end of the lifespan of the loan, you're looking at a difference of some 84 million guilders. Now, that is better used in other ways than to simply pay interest on a loan. We also stressed, even though it is not his area of responsibility, I made use of the opportunity and we stressed the situation at the Oyster Pond that is not, let's say, going away. On the part of the Dutch government, we are asked not to escalate the situation, but it is really, truthfully, getting out of hands. Getting out of hands because the French are not stopping. They continue to harass the people there, even though we have an agreement of observing a status quo, but they continue to interfere. And the latest I was made to understand last night is that one of the businesses operating at the marina there was served documents to file a court case against them. There are also a court case, I think, against the Captain Oliver's restaurant or marina, and they have been seeking supporting documents from our government in order to support them in their court case. Recently, their lawyers wrote a letter to the Kingdom government asking them to intervene, because here you have a citizen of the Kingdom legally operating a business on what has always been Dutch territory and is being harassed by a foreign government.
In a press release from the Ministry of Justice, Minister Raphael Boseman recently met with Safe Haven Foundation Managing Director Cassandra Richardson and Benjamin Ortega of iNovus to discuss the upcoming events surrounding the awareness campaign to end domestic violence on the island. The event, themed Fatherhood, Eradicating Domestic Violence, the Need to Father with Purpose and Love, is part of a series of educational events coordinated by Safe Haven. During the meeting, parties expressed the needs to promote and collaborate. The minister gave workable solutions to various examples faced within the community, and the meeting was ended with the minister's commitment to advocate and encourage the various departments headed by the Ministry of Justice. The press release ends by inviting the general community of St. Martin to a free lecture on August 23rd to be held at the Port of St. Martin at 6 p.m., where various keynote speakers on the subject of being a good father and eradicating domestic violence will be discussed. Under the theme, Preservation and Awareness of Our Environment, Treasure the World We Are In, the 2017-2018 HYPE Agenda for high school students was officially launched in the presence of Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, Sylvia Jacobs, and a handful of students of the coordination team on Wednesday, August 16th. The agenda, specifically tailored for the academic year, features a number of articles surrounding the theme aimed at educating readers about the preservation and protection of the environment, and also features young and adult role models from St. Martin, Saba, and St. Eustatius. During the short launch ceremony, Minister Jacobs commended the Voice of Our Youth Foundation and the HYPE Agenda team for producing an agenda that wholly focuses on local personalities and the environment.
Your theme and focus on the environment is also very commendable, as we've seen a greater involvement from the general public in awareness of our environment and how we can influence that. So that page I saw in there and how you can be a green student, I think is very helpful, and I'm looking forward to the students within St. Martin and those.
This year's agenda is themed Preservation and Awareness of Our Environment. Treasure the World We Are In. With the team, we want to show students the importance of our environment and give them practical examples of how they can protect and treasure it by highlighting stories of persons who are living green and leaving a small environmental footprint on our island. By educating our youngsters about the environment, we affect change in this world. The globe artwork on the cover was designed by our very own Sochi Gonzalez from Charlotte Brookson Academy. Each year we have seen the agendas grow in popularity. Every single copy was sold out in the last few years, and the persons were still requesting more.
I have been a part of the HYPE Agenda for the past 3 years, and it is truly one of the teams that I am most proud to be associated with. The drive and dedication of everyone on the HYPE team, from the youth writers to our mentors, Judy and Zuleika, is truly something incredible, and I am so grateful to have experienced it firsthand.
That brings us to the end of this edition of 30 Minutes with Government. For video on demand, be sure to visit the official website of the Government of St. Martin at stmartingov.org. You can also visit our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Listen to this and other programs on St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM. On behalf of the Department of Communication, I am your host, Giselle York. We'll see you next time.